All right, let's now welcome SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje to give us some input on the swearing in of the cabinet today, as well as other issues pertaining to the newly formed GNU. Mzwandile, as always, great having you with us in studio. So the swearing in ceremony going through quite smoothly. So talk to us about what is now the next point of business for Parliament.
Well, basically, very good afternoon to you, Alicia. But what basically this sets now is that they have now assumed their official responsibilities. They are ready now to hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. So that basically means they can now start to execute their responsibilities. Because before then, so they were actually ministers designate. Mm-hmm. So they were not, now they are full ministers and they are full deputy ministers. And of course, we did not have the deputy president. Now we have the deputy president. So we have the entire executive. That's why we are not restricting it to cabinet, because cabinet, as you know, refers mainly to the president, deputy president, and the ministers. But once we say the national executive, then it includes all of that. So that is the team that will be responsible for the executive arm of state in terms of pushing whatever the government decides for the next 5 years. We know this is a government of national unity. It's comprised of a number of parties. And then clearly we have seen some of the few ministers from other parties. I mean, we're used to seeing ministers from just one party.
Same party, yeah.
So from the official opposition, then, well, I don't know whether it still assumes
I was about to ask that.
Because it's part of the governing party now. Actually, that responsibility now falls to the MK party, because the DA is part of the governing party. So it's quite an interesting situation, but that is what the voters of South Africa decided on the 29th of May, that no one party will have the outright majority to govern on its own. So let them decide, and how we as South Africans decided through the political parties that we voted for is the government of national unity.
Yes. Look, Mzwandile, very interesting will be to see on that point of course, now what and who forms that opposition and takes part in those opposition benches. Interesting to note would be that Action SA has already said long time ago that they will be occupying the opposition stance. And this is a former alliance partner of that Moonshot Pact of the DA. So going to be quite interesting to see when it comes to agreements or disagreements when it comes to some of the policies that will be put through the National Assembly.
It will be very interesting. And in fact, talking about the Action SA as one of the parties that will be in Parliament, in the opposition benches, they did have a meeting with the ANC, which is obviously leading this government of national unity, where they basically said, they reiterated their stance, but then they also promised to obviously look at issue by issue. All right. It's not just going to be a wholesale opposition to certain issues. There would be those that they will agree to.
So interesting reactions there, Mzwandile. Of course, a lot to speak about within the first 100 days in office, as well as performance. You heard the president there saying that he's met some of the members of his cabinet, and they've assured, in fact, promised him that they will hit the ground running. But on that issue, very quickly, Mzwandile, as a wrap as well, I mean, the issue of the fact that the president had said in his previous administration, he had assured citizens that he will be making the undertaking to ensure that some of his cabinet members actually sign performance contracts. And we don't know what actually happened to that. So do you think, particularly in this new formation, where he's also got a bloated cabinet, he's going to be able to implement such a move?
Remember, he has the prerogative to preside over that executive, so it shouldn't really be a problem. Yes, of course, he will take into account that this is a government of national unity, and I don't think he would want it to perform less. In fact, all the more reason I think this government will have to perform maybe above what is expected, because I can see those parties trying to make sure, particularly in their respective portfolio, that they are noticed, that they are doing so well. And then if then that creates a competition, maybe it's good for us, because it basically means a better service delivery. But I think what will be important, Alicia, is that first meeting of the cabinet and cabinet lekgotla, because they have to develop
Yes.
at least a minimum program where they are somehow all agreed these are the priorities. I mean, I don't think there's anyone who will be opposed to the job creation situation, pacing up the service delivery infrastructure. You know, all those are things that I think will be agreed upon without really any of the difficulties. The only perhaps issues will be those that are complex, but at face value, I think those that South Africans are looking out for, and then it's in their face, so will be dealt with, I mean, as soon as possible. I mean, you heard the president say himself, the first marching orders when that parliament is opened on the 18th of July, we will know what the priority of this GNU will be.
And when is that lekgotla meeting, Mzwandile? Are you able to give us the time frame?
It's expected to be next week. In fact, I think the president even said it as well, to say the cabinet meeting will be next week, and I think
All right.
there will be bigger ones as well, because you have to get everyone on board.